Welcome back to the SKID factory. It's time for some more lunacy with the V12 twin turbo shorty.
Alan, what are you going out for a bit? So we're taking over the camera. Why not, I reckon. So yeah, we've been pretty busy here.
What do you think you guys are doing?
Look it, this is my show.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, righto.
Work is continuing. I don't know what those chooches said, but there's a bit more wiring to get done. Anthony's got a whole lot to do. Get the battery done. Whereabouts are you up to?
It's actually virtually finished because the rocket covers are painted, so that's kind of like 99% of the job. But, yeah, I think we're almost done with the wiring, so that's a good thing because no one likes wiring except for Anthony and me. Yeah, so then we'll put the front back on, radiator back in, sort out water pumps and stuff like that, and then we're going to start putting pipes on it, so it looks cool. Cool though. We're getting there. Get back to work.
Al has changed the original wiring setup for the thermofan and water pump, so additional earths have been added into the loom. The coolant temp sensor has also been swapped out with a generic Bosch item, so new pins are crimped onto the existing wires. Anthony is routing the power cables for the alternator and the starter motor. These run from the battery, which is located under the passenger seat. Meanwhile, I'm refitting the coil packs and ignition leads. The V12 runs a waste spark setup from standard, which has been previously proven at moderate power levels, so there's no need to upgrade. Hey Marco! Hey! Al has modified the lower radiator inlet, which is a lot simpler than Nathan's prototype. Anthony is finishing off the wiring for the headlights, indicators and horn. These are all run to a single Deutsch connector located at the driver's side where the front guards bolt to the body. Anthony then turns his attention to the wiring he has already completed under the dash and uses a multimeter to confirm that everything is wired correctly.
What was that hose from?
Jeep. Was it a Jeep?
Jeep Wrangler, wasn't it? A Cherokee, I don't know.
You got it. Hopefully that doesn't affect the reliability.
That's a very good
We
point.
got good value out of it anyway.
It's only like a $60 radiator hose, no biggie.
It's cheap for a Jeep. Anthony from Drover got the majority of the wiring done in the couple of days he was here. We just have to continue to fit some more parts to the car, like fuel pumps and stuff like that, before he can wire them up. It's very difficult to wire things up that aren't there. So we finished off his time here by going out for a dirt squirt. He's a bit of a pro on the bike, so that was a bit of fun. Now we are back into just getting this engine stuff sorted. We're about to fit this. This is affectionately known as the rocket ship. I was into some heavy drugs back in the day by the look of it, because I made this out of 2 receiver dryer that I probably pulled out of the bin at Old Cox after they'd replaced them in an aircon service. It's basically a vacuum manifold. The engine's actually split completely from factory, and either side of the engine doesn't share. They don't share vacuum or anything like that, but in our application we have to, because of the engine's being run as a single unit with one computer. So it's just sharing vacuum, and we have anything that's vacuum related goes into this, like the map sensor and the lines from the PCVs. Also idle control goes into it. Previously was running a stepper motor from a 2JZ. Works great. Massive pain in the ass because it uses tons of outputs. Got 4 outputs to run a stepper. Also on the ECU that this car's got, it has to have self shut-off control to make this work. Like, it's not like a Haltech that'll just operate this when you turn the key on. So there's a lot of buggerising around with extra relays and turning things on and off afterwards. So the ECU remains on after you turn the ignition off for it to reset that. So we're replacing that with this Siltec valve, which is just a single wire output. Saves you tons of wiring outputs that you can use for other important things. We got this from our mates at Golby's. They carry these in stock. They're very cheap for what they are. Really good design. Works on obviously any 1 or 2 JZ, and we also adapted one of these onto our 1UZ in the Fairlane, which worked out really well. Same reason, we didn't want to go to the trouble of using all our outputs for a stepper motor. So we'll bolt all this together, whack it back on the engine, plumb her up, and continue on.
What have you done, Alan?
I'm just trying to work out what I did years ago. I think this is off a Subaru, because I probably didn't have the little one-way valve set up on it available to me at the time.
Everything's of a Subaru with you.
That's like a little one-way valve for boost. So the engine vacuum will suck through that, and then when boost arrives, it just seals off. So you can just run that without putting it back to the intake. I'm just not sure why I've got that in there. We'll figure it out.
The Siltec idle control motor is a slightly different shape to the 2JZ stepper motor and now won't fit into its original position. The rocket ship is flipped over, bolted on, and a 90-degree AN fitting is used to place the filter away from the throttle cable.
We've got the rocket ship all bolted up and I've plumbed it up as well. So the plumbing consists of, out of each valve cover, we've got the PCV into it. So that's basically just pulling through and back into the engine. We've got the brake booster over there. Used to have a line for the fuel pressure regulator, but we're actually going to use a undercar just a static reg, so we don't need that anymore. And this one here with the braided line on it is actually the map sensor. It's a TI map sensor, so it's like, I don't know, something ridiculous like 5 bar. But they don't like being screwed into engines, so it's remotely mounted hanging off the firewall, off a P-clip. I've set up the throttle here. Ish. Bit tight. So it's got a transmission throttle valve cable on it as well, going down to the auto. That's required for it to have the correct line pressure at different engine loads. That was fairly easy to implement with all these slots cut into this this unit here. So I just had to make a new bracket just to stack one on top of the other. So that worked out pretty well. The old cable's a bit haggard, but I managed to spiral it to a usable order because I wasn't sure how easy it would be to get a hold of one. So that's all good. I've had a bit of a fiddle with the steering because that's a bit of a painful event on this thing because there's a turbo in the way. Come around here and I'll show you. So the steering is a bit of a pain because formerly it would have just been fairly straight with a couple of unis on it, nothing in the way. Now there's a turbo in the way. Turbos are important, so we can deal with that, but we have to do a fair bit of fiddling to actually get the steering to work. What I've done is I've chopped up some bits and pieces of LandCruiser steering shafts and stuff that Nathan gave me. We're not using them, I've just used them to sort of mock it up and work out what's going to work and what's not going to work. This is what I've come up with. We've got a plumber block, which is like a sort of a rigid bearing that basically allows us to change direction with universal joints. If that's not called a plumber block in your country, don't panic. I don't know what it's called in other countries, but that's what they called it when I bought it. Basically just going to get welded onto this bracket. It's just tacked on at the moment. Welding onto chassis is not cool in Australia. I know you can do whatever you like in other countries, but you can't here. So that's going to be bolted onto the chassis instead of welded on. It's just how you have to do it. So this bracket here I can weld together, but I have to bolt it to the chassis. Probably doesn't make much sense, but that's just how it is. I don't make the rules, we just have to abide by them. So also can't weld steering parts, that's probably a fairly standard thing. All I've done is use bits to sort of see where it will work and get the point where this plumber block can be. So I've done that with various bits and pieces and welded it there. When I've tested it, that is too tight. You can feel every quarter the uni sort of is past its usable range and it starts sort of rolling over and you get this sort of feeling of a bind every quarter of a turn. So we're going to put a double cardan joint there, which is basically sort of 2 unis built into one that allows you to sort of go around a sharper corner. And all of it's going to be replaced with sort of bolt together stuff. This is 11/16 36 spline on the output there, and also on the steering box. For some reason I can buy them because I think it's because hot rod guys use Toyota steering boxes, so they actually make that spline on one end uni with a double D bar, which is sort of your standard easy to work with way of doing steering. So we've got half and half there. We've got a double cardan here with 3/4 D bar that'll go through the middle of this plumber block. Then another shaft here. One of the shafts is collapsible because that's also required for accident sort of stuff. That's what this sort of crinkly bit here would have been for in the first place. Probably doesn't need to be, because if it does hit there, this thing will probably just pop out here somewhere, but them's the rules. We have to abide by them, otherwise it won't get its ticket to allow it to be on the road. So all that stuff's coming from the States because that's the best place to get it. It should be here very shortly, and then we can replace all this with the legit road going version. I can weld this up, I can drill all the holes and bolt it on properly, and then we'll have working steering. That's it for today's episode. We got a fair bit done. The wiring's well on the way. We've figured out what we're going to do with that steering, and we've opened up some cans of worms, so we've got more to do next week. You may have noticed we've got some new music playing. That is a local artist by the name of Munro. He's a friend of Woody's. If you want to check out some more of his music, the link is in the description. Also, if you're new to the channel, you may not know about our previous builds that we've done. They're all hosted on MCM TV2, so if you head over there, just wade through that, you'll find the playlist there. There's a whole bunch of builds very similar to this, so if you want to see more lunacy from back in the day, have a look over there. Thanks for watching.
What a shit box.
Are you looking at pictures of your KTM?
No, I'm looking at your crappy RM X250XR hybrid.
This is a rare model. Canadian only.
Millsy edition.
I wish Millsy would give my bloody mower back.
He just loves that Cox way too much.
He does love the Cox.